Welcome to Her Imprint, part of the Impressions Exchange. I'm Denise Gustafson, your host. This podcast celebrates the remarkable women who are transforming the printing industry. We'll explore their journeys, from challenges to triumphs, and share the stories that leave a lasting imprint. Today I have with me Stephanie True. She's president of Charleston Cotton Exchange. So Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
The pleasure to have you. So to get us started, can you give me a little bit of background about Charleston Cotton Exchange?
Sure. I run a screen printing, embroidery, promotional products, graphic design company here in Charleston, South Carolina. It's an awesome community with lots of tourists and breweries and restaurants and small businesses and big businesses and schools and whatnot. We do a lot of apparel decorating for all of those types of companies. And then we also do events, different sort of promotional items and giveaways that different individuals will need for their events. We started 31 years ago in 1995, and it was actually July 4th weekend that we started with our birthday weekend.
Congratulations on 31 years.
Thank you. I am pretty proud of it. I never thought I would stay in something that long, but it's been really great and lots of learning, lots of progressing, lots of understanding yourself and those things.
Awesome. So both soft and hard goods for the promotional?
We do all the printing and embroidery in-house, and then we partner with other businesses to do the pens, the pencils, the mugs, and everything else, like a lot of it.
Yeah, awesome. So 31 years ago, you get started in printing. Is that what you wanted to do?
Definitely not.
What? You didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to be in printing, right?
No, definitely not. I did not know what I wanted to do. I had graduated from college in 95. I graduated from Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. My parents had retired in Charleston, and I just ended up coming down here. I did not know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something in business or education.
Okay.
I had a double major in history and sociology. I thought at one point I was going to go to grad school for school psychology or even law school at one point, and then just was waiting for that sign as to what are you supposed to do? Like so many kids who graduate and they're like, now what? And so I was lucky enough that my mom had always been an entrepreneur and she always bought and sold small businesses. So she would buy them, build them up, get them to a certain point, and then she would sell them and move on. So she
So a
was
serial entrepreneur.
yeah, serial. Absolutely. And he was always the idea person. She was never the doer.
Gotcha.
So I was fresh out of college and I had a typical job, just floundering around and everything. And my mom found this screen printing equipment and you don't know what you're doing right now, but you're going to run this. You'll at least learn something as you go along. And I think she always knew that I liked business and stuff. I was always curious about what she was doing. I was asking questions along the way. And so I think she either consciously or not knew that maybe I needed to be steered in that direction.
You had a great example in her and how she ran a business, how she built businesses time and time again. So you had more than one example of how she was doing that.
There are many times though when I would get so frustrated that I'd be like, is this the time to sell? Is this when we sell? Because I can't do this anymore. Yeah, I started with me and one other person that sort of came with the equipment because as we were talking to the person who had the equipment, we were like, now what? And they're like, I have this one printer and she can start with you and she can do graphic design. And everyone always asks me how we ended up with the name Charleston Cotton Exchange. So that came with the equipment. The gentleman who we were talking to had just paid for his Yellow Page ad when that was how you did your advertising was in the Yellow Pages. I think it was May was the renewal. And of course we got started in July. And so it was like, great, you could wait until next May and change your name or wait for business, or you keep this name and have people find you. And so we were relatively new to Charleston. And so we liked the name and it gets stuck.
And honestly, at that point, it was probably one less thing to have to worry about is trying to figure out what's the right name for my new business. And as it is, you were learning a business, you were learning about screen printing also and trying to manage now an employee. And just get up to speed. Yeah, the last thing you want to do is try to figure out, "What should this be named?"
They just stayed, and obviously it's been really good, and we have a lot of people who will call sometimes and be like, "So do you sell cotton?" "No," or, "There used to be a restaurant with a similar name." "No, we can't make reservations," that kind of thing. So, or we had fun little experiences that way. But yeah, it's been a really good fit. Charleston has been incredible to me and my family. They've been very welcoming, and I've had just a great staff. I think right now I have one of the best staffs that I've ever had in a long time. And it feels really good right now to kind of be in that position because I think staffing is the number one issue that every business goes through is to find good, solid people to work for you and work with you. That's been challenging, but right now I'm really fortunate.
That's funny. A lot of people always focus on the business, like the financials, the sales, but those soft skills about the hiring and making sure the people that are coming on board are work with the culture of the organization. And there's so much to that that I don't think we think about
Right.
until we're in the thick of it
I agree.
and trying to figure it out. Is this person going to work here or not?
For sure. Yeah, and we have right now, we're hiring an inside salesperson. And like for the most part, my crew is under 40. And so we have a lot of excellent candidates who come who have lots of years of experience. But are they going to be able to giggle with my girls up front? That's how they let loose when it's stressful. Or so those are we always say, is this person going to fit the culture? Are they going to fit? Because that's a huge thing. You spend most of your life or most of your day working, and you have to everyone has to gel. And someone who used to work with me said, "Play nice in the sandbox." So, we
Exactly.
all have to get along. We may not like each other. You may not have them over for Sunday dinner, but you at least have to get along and work well together.
Yeah, honestly, I say something very similar. I'm like, I don't need you all holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
Not what we want to do, but you need to be able to respect them and at least work with them, be professional with them. But yeah, you might not have them over for Sunday dinner, but we all need to get along in a certain way.
Absolutely. For
So
sure.
how can we all compromise? How can we all bend a little bit to make it easier since we are spending 8, sometimes 9, 10, however long, especially if you're in the middle of a job, you might have to finish it. Stressful, and when the stress comes out, it makes it harder.
Yeah. For sure. No, for sure. So yeah, I started with one employee and now I have about 25. And getting everybody to all work nicely together has been difficult, but I think right now I have some good experience and some good maturity and some people who really want it to work. And I just have some really dedicated people who've been with me over 20 years, some of them over 15, and that's been huge. They're family now. But also, I learned as time went on that you have to create some barriers. As much as I love somebody who works for me, we still need some barriers where I can't hang out with you all the time or I can't socialize with you all the time just because I think everybody needs their space. And I found out that over time, it was a lot easier for me to manage and not be so sensitive about things that maybe I had to address because I was really just emotional and just young at the time, and having to reprimand somebody was the most challenging thing ever because I never wanted to tell someone that they'd done something wrong.
Yeah.
So that's been like I've learned over time. Like in the beginning, I definitely befriended a lot of people who worked for me, and it just wasn't healthy. And so now, again, we're all friends and stuff, and we hang out sometimes, and then we obviously all have our other lives, and I think it's just healthier that way.
There needs to be some kind of separation
Yes, yes. It's
because
just like
yeah,
a house. Like my husband retired a couple of years ago, and he works for me part time, but I'm like, yeah, I don't need you in my business all the time. We need separation here. And when we go home, he still wants to talk about work, and I'm like, no, we
I'm
need to
done.
start that at the door, or now is home time. That's also been a big goal of mine and probably the last, I don't know, like 10 years maybe, is just to carve out some personal time. I used to work all the time, and that was really not healthy. I get here at 5 a.m. and I would be leaving at 10, 11, and it was just a cycle. And Maybe the weekends you got to come in at 11 and work until 5. I don't know. Because you were just doing everything in terms of printing. I was learning graphic design on my own. I was burning the screens. I was cleaning the screens. I was coding the screens. I was setting up jobs to be printed. I was doing the schedule, and there's no time for anything. And so one of the things that I learned is that you really can't grow until you make that conscious effort to hire people to help you. Because I was stagnant for so long because I was like, I can do it. I can do it all. I'm better at doing this. I can just do it all and it'll be better. But obviously, there's huge burnout. Healthy.
Yeah, there's only so long that you can maintain that kind of pace, that kind of output, that kind of stress on yourself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm over 50 now. And yesterday, we didn't get a part that we were supposed to. I was down for 2 days with one of my machines and the part didn't come. And I'm like, I'm just going to go drive and get it because they didn't get it on the truck. And so I drove up and back to get it. And it was like 4 hours, 5 hours. And when I got back, I'm like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not. Whereas before we're in Charleston. So I'd run up to Columbia, which is about an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes away. I'd run up to Columbia, like shirts didn't come on the truck. I'd run up, grab the shirts, come back, print them, and get them out the door for the event or whatever. And I'm like, how did I ever do that? But again, I guess you're young and the adrenaline is going and you just get it done. But yeah.
And also when you're young, you don't know what you don't know too. In some regards, like the weight of the business, I think probably also lands solely on you. So you want to make sure things are done right. You want to make sure things are getting out the door.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's easier just to do than to train. And then maybe it won't get done exactly the way that you want.
Right.
But is it good enough? Is it what the client still wants? Is your way one way and the other way is wrong? Or is the other way just a different way? And that I think is hard to work through too as an owner.
It is. It is. And it took me a long time to learn that on my own. And also took me a while to train people to accept that as well. Because again, some of the dedicated people that I've had who've been with me for so long, they started when we didn't have very many people to do it. We all wore many hats and did many things. And then, and again, when you want to grow, you need to hire people and train them and accept that may not be the exact same, but different's okay. But different's okay. And we still get the job done. William, who's my production manager / everything manager at Fall, he's been with me over 20 years and I think we've grown together. But I know completely that he has that back domain. And certainly we discuss and you talk about stuff and powwow and everything else. But I know he's got it. I don't have to help her. He's got his crew back there and everybody respects him and loves him. And so I just let him have his space over there.
Yeah, it probably works better for everybody.
It does. Yeah. I always say to people that I am not a micromanager. I will not hover over your shoulder. I expect to train you, show you what to do. And then I really expect you to be able to do your job. Sometimes that's not always been great for me because I get caught up in other details. And so I'm not always necessarily in everybody's business. And again, it just takes the right people to gel with you and finding people who have the same ideas about customer service and about production and quality control and all those that you all are on the same page.
Now, you ended up staying in printing. This was not what you were originally thinking you were going to go. Why did you stay?
So a couple of things. One, every time that I would be like, is this the time to sell? Because I'd be so frustrated over something, I would get some huge order. And I'd be like, okay, is this a sign that I'm supposed to stay in it? Or I'd get some order that was of some important, or that it was like a feather in my cap. And I was just happy that I got to work with those people. And again, I would just pay, maybe got for fine. And probably about 9 years in, I applied to grad school and I had already deferred twice. And I'm like, I've got to make a decision. And so I actually met my husband then. And so things just start falling into place. And I started taking some time for myself and just creating more of a life as opposed to just being at business all the time. Those things happen. I think it's just you have to listen to your gut and just judge it by where you are in life. So I was ready, I think, to just take, I was learning alone and I really, I like to make things. And so it's not just the business part for me. It's like the creative part. I'm a very crafty person and my free time. So just the design elements, the inks, the threads, fabrics. I just love all of that part of it. So it wasn't just to stay in it or to stay in it for money or whatever. I just enjoyed that. And at that time too, I was like really getting some awesome people and I really loved working with them and it was fun. And so I just was like, you know what? I could start over essentially, go to grad school, do the whatever everybody thinks you're supposed to do, or I could keep digging and
Yeah.
keep going.
I wonder if your mom saw something and knew something about you in terms of the fact that you like to make things, that you were crafty,
Absolutely.
that she realized that this was probably gonna be a really good fit for you.
Absolutely. Again, not consciously, probably. And she loved to paint and just do different things and pottery. And so we were both kindred spirits that way. Yeah, I think she was. I think she knew that this would be a good business and that there was, we always say a service business is really an awesome business to be in because people always need what we're selling. I also love it because pretty much bought and sold before you even say good. We don't carry inventory. We don't, everything is custom. And that's a really nice part of the business that I like because carrying inventory and stuff is scary. If you need to put all your ducks in a row and put all your eggs in one basket at one time, and just hope and pray, gee, I hope all that inventory sells. Some people have a real knack for that. And I've tried different things along the way, like a little private label line or to have a little retail store or whatever. It just wasn't, it just didn't fit for us. And so we just dedicated ourselves to doing the custom work and allowing the customer to dictate what we do. And that's been more successful for us.
Yeah, honestly, it's a little less complicated.
It is.
Yes, you have to worry about the logistics of making sure you can get the products in so you can do the print job that you've now said you're gonna do,
Right.
but you're not, "Oh, this is a shirt from so long ago, they're no longer that's not in style anymore." There's so much with regards to trends and fashions that you have to worry about, especially when you're dealing with apparel.
Exactly. No, and there are. Those are the choices I don't want to make. The apparel manufacturers, the Sandmars, the Fellow Canvas, all those people in this world who are, they dictate color, style, all that. I'm like, you have, I don't need to be in that part.
Honestly, if you have a big enough warehouse, you can hang on to stuff because it probably will come back into fashion at some point in time, but
Exactly.
who wants to wait that long? That's my
Well,
thing.
then we'd be hoarders, and I really don't want to be a hoarder. So.
Printing United Expo is where the entire printing industry unites under one roof. Explore cutting edge technology from over 800 exhibitors, see live product demonstrations, and discover solutions that can transform your business. With exclusive education sessions, expert insights, and endless networking opportunities, this is the must attend event for anyone in print. No matter your role, Printing United Expo delivers the innovation, connections, and knowledge to help you stay ahead. Join us this September 23rd to the 25th in Las Vegas. Learn more at printingunited.com and experience the future of print today.
Now, how was it for you? You live in the South. You're a business owner in the South, a woman-owned business. Were there bumps in the road because you were a woman in business,
Right.
or was it smooth sailing for you?
Definitely not smooth sailing. There have definitely been bumps in the road. I think being in the South, being a woman, also, I was very young when I first started. There were a lot of things against me that and also just not being confident. You know, what I mean, when you're young, you're just not confident in your abilities and everything. You're trying to learn life.
Learn who
Also,
you really are. You're just
yeah,
out of school. Yes, book knowledge, but you haven't really sometimes figured out yourself yet.
exactly. I think everybody's easily impressionable. You might get feedback from somebody and be like, oh, and then feel like you have to change or what have you. And so just learning those aspects and being true to yourself and just Yeah, there are times, certainly there's still times when I called a manufacturer and I need a part or something and they don't think I'm giving them the right part number. And so they'll be like, can I talk to your boss? Like, can I talk to your manager? And I'm like, nope, that would be me. Can't talk to anybody else. Those things are really frustrating. Or when you go into a meeting and there might be a whole group of men in the room and they are very flirtatious and which is fine to a degree, but you kind of, I don't know, it just makes you feel uncomfortable when you're in a meeting trying to present product as opposed to I'm not presenting myself, I'm presenting product here. So those things have certainly been difficult, or definitely sometimes I've had employees who are not as respectful as they should be. And that has been an issue where they're a good employee, they show up on time, they do a good job, but there's this constant, you're like, look, it just makes you feel yucky. So certainly there are those times. I think as I've gotten older, I've been able to tell people what I think nicely and tell them to go, yeah, go, but go blacking and you do you and I'll do me over here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And for the employees, they're not a fit. They end up not being a culture fit.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And then I think too, some people are surprised. They'll be like, "She's the boss," and I'm like, and then they're always surprised because I'm always working in the. Sure, there are days when I need to sit at my desk and do a lot of paperwork and stuff, but there are also days when I'm mixing ink or I'm offloading in the back or I'm stacking shirts in the back or carrying boxes or threading a machine and they're always very surprised. They'll be like, I never had a boss that was really in the weeds like that. And I think they can respect me a little bit more because they're like, oh, you love what you do. And that's a nice feeling actually as you progress and mature and grow that you're like, yeah, I got this. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's really good to be able to you come into yourself, you have that confidence, but it's an earned confidence too. You've learned it, you're more comfortable. You know who you are as well as a person, what you need to do for the business. Yeah, you're very different than you were when you started in your 20s.
For sure.
Personally, you've been through things, there's things that have changed how you look at the world.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, the world has changed. By all means, I've gone through a lot. Right now, I have 2 kids and my husband, and just like a lot of people, you got to juggle a lot of things and figure out what you want and stay the course, but all fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Like you said earlier, you had to figure out a way to create that line between personal and work.
Yeah.
You're raising a family. That's one of the things I think that's unique to women is a lot of people come to that fork in the road and they realize, do I want a career or do I want a family? And they think it's an or. They have to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Then there's mom guilt. If you decide the career and you have the kids, then the mom guilt, you can't be there 24/7.
Right.
How do you navigate that? Obviously, you've navigated it. You're on the other side to a certain degree for some of us. How do you navigate that?
That part is very difficult. When I was pregnant with my first child, he's 16 now. I was printing while pregnant. I was packing orders. To me, it was just like, yeah, I have this thing, but we got to keep going. And I didn't realize at some point you have to stop and then also lean on people that you trust. And sometimes you trust the wrong person who doesn't maybe always manage things the way you want because I'm not a super critical manager. I also said before, I'm not a micromanager, but want, I want the staff to get along with everybody. For the longest time, I didn't want a title. And so that was hard. And so navigating all of that and then becoming a mother and trying to navigate, okay, are we doing daycare? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? A baby will certainly put things in perspective for you and at that point, I really had to start making some serious decisions as to what was important and what I absolutely needed to get done in a day. I did bring a lot of work home with me, just like we all do. And you just work at night and you get it done. So there were lots of years with that with both of my children. But as a business owner too, I had some flexibility where I could go to the school performances or I could volunteer one day or I was able to do things with them and be with them. Maybe not as much as I would have liked, but I think also both my boys have said that they're proud of me in terms of that I work. You know what I mean? And one of my boys was just like, do you think I could do what you do? And I'm like, you can, but you can't start where I am. You have to start learning everything because that's how I did it. I think as a business owner, you have to know every aspect of your business. You may not know how to do it perfectly, but you at least have to know, like I said, I can set up a design, I can print, and I'm very fast, obviously, because I'm very rusty, but I can do all of those things. I don't want anybody to have that hanging over your head. So yeah, when you're leaving the office to somebody else to manage while you're maybe at home with your family, you just have to hope that you've trained that person to do what you want. Sometimes that has been an utter failure where people have really disappointed me in terms of just their management style was horrible. They really wanted a hierarchy of I'm up here and you're down here and you will. And I'm like, absolutely not. You will not get anything done that way. It's more than respect, but you just have to talk to people like they matter. No one's going to respond to you that way. So that was hard sometimes coming back. If I'd taken time off with my kids or traveled or whatever with my family and come back and find out, oh my gosh, what just
Too small a company to have that kind of, we're not 2,500 people
exactly.
where you need those layers and you need that. We're 25.
You do not need to be that power hungry. I'm sorry. You really don't. It's just not necessary or doesn't do anything really. It's certainly not going to make people want to do their job that much more. And so, yeah, I feel over time you create those boundaries, you create a balance. My family's everything to me. But I have also had staff members even recently, they're like, you need to go and do this and bye. They're like, we've got this.
We love you, but leave.
It's an old trust thing. But again, I don't want to leave them in the trenches. I know what happens when things go awry, but now I know that they're going to handle things well in the way that I would handle them and be respectful to everybody, customers, staff. We all work together. We all have to do it. If it involves pulling in the recycle bin, if it involves pulling in the recycle bin, that's just what we do. It's not diminishing what you do. It's just gotta be done.
Yeah,
So-
it's a team mentality. I think too is look, we all have each other's backs. Sometimes it's you have to go out. Maybe someday it's another person, they need to go do something. Look, we'll cover you. Don't worry about it. And that's what a really good team does for each other.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I think pre-pandemic, I've had awesome, very strong staff. And then COVID, like for many people, I was fortunate enough to survive COVID because I know some businesses that did not. I was very lucky to survive because we were shut down for 6 weeks and to come back and still be really teetering there. It took a long time for everything to come back. It was challenging, but I think too, my staff realized I paid them for that time that they were out. I was just like, everybody still has bills. Everybody still has life to take care of.
The mortgages don't stop. The electric bill
Right.
doesn't stop. I mean,
No, and I can't expect them to come back if I'm not. There's loyalty and there's loyal, but I mean, they still have to survive. I think during COVID, that actually was a really good learning experience in the sense that I started budgeting for almost salary type positions for all of my key people. And that way I knew that every time I had a big order to get out, or I at least had my core staff ready to go. And I started paying them more on a salary basis than an hourly basis. They still get hourly, but some people get 35 hours guaranteed. Some people get 30 hours, get 40 hours guaranteed. It just depends on where they are. And that has been huge because again, you have that loyalty. People realize that sometimes we're busy, sometimes we're slow, but in the end, it all just evens out.
Yeah. And for them, they know they're guaranteed a certain paycheck, can rely on it,
Yeah.
which in this day and age is huge.
Oh, yeah, it is huge. And yeah, I would talk to other printers and I'd be like, how are you going to get these jobs out? And they're like, oh, we just call in a temp agency and we just get a whole bunch of people in here. And I'm like,
But do they know what they're doing?
exactly. But those would also be the ones that would tell me like they had a huge percentage of error and their waste was huge. And I'm like, okay, so I could pay these people to be on standby a little bit. Obviously, we have lots of work to get out, but there are times when we're not as busy, or I could hire randomly as time goes on, and that's not going to do it. And that just causes more stress in my life. More, it's not the right way to do it. But I didn't know that until you're forced to do it. And you're like, yeah, this can happen. You can make this happen. You just have to budget and you just have to plan things out a little bit. Now, in the beginning, it's very hard because even though my mom, like, she bought the equipment and everything, everyone, how did you get the money to keep going? And it was very hard. Everybody's like, just go to the bank and get a loan. They want to know how many years you've been in business, and they want to know what kind of equity you have, and they want to know what property you have, and all this stuff. And you're like, I don't. So you're already down. You're trying. It's just a cycle. So credit cards are my friend, and it was a lot of credit card debt for a long time. And I tell people that very freely because I don't want them to think that it just was, or just because my mom happened to purchase the equipment or my dad was doing some of the accounting and bookkeeping and stuff that, oh, I had Easy Street. Didn't. They were retired at the time. There was a lot of, oh, this credit card has no interest for 6 months and we'll do that one and then we'll juggle over here. So for the first 10 years, it was really hard that way. And I think as time went on, I just learned to budget more. My husband is a financial guru, and he also helped me devise some ways to long term just to get rid of the debt and kind of be debt free, which has been a huge freedom for us just to not have that hanging over your head. But it does take a lot of work and it takes a lot of just, I did a lot of the work on my own because and for a while, I couldn't afford to hire.
Mhm.
But then there's that fine line where if you don't hire people, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You have to start doing that so that your business grows and that you can pay off debt, pay your employees, and all that good stuff.
All that important things, like why people actually come to work. Yes, they might
Yeah.
enjoy doing it, but they also need to be paid.
Right.
Minor detail.
Minor detail. Exactly.
So, as we're wrapping up, my favorite question, and the one I always keep to the end, is knowing what you know now. So, your time in business, your 30 years in business, if you were just starting out today, what advice would you give yourself?
Do not be afraid to ask questions. To not think that we have to know everything from the get go, that just because I'm a business owner, I don't know everything. And it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to ask questions. And I wish I learned a lot just by doing. And I wish sometimes that I had taken that class or taken that seminar or asked more questions and not been afraid, oh, they're just going to think that's a dumb question or don't you already know that? And so that would be my advice to myself is that it is okay to lean on those people who are like number gurus. They love their spreadsheet and they're going to give you all the analysis. And you're like, yes, I am not. I'm a global person. I look at the big picture and then we meet over here and do numbers and then we meet over here and do artwork. And it's okay to not know everything. And I tell my kids that too, because I think kids also grow up where I'm like, you're not born knowing everything. We're trying to figure this out. We're all figuring it out. I still figure, but I do ask more questions now. And thank goodness for online and YouTube and everything else because I'm constantly learning. My staff is always, okay, she's the detective. What she learn because I am. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. They'll be like, it's not gonna work. And I'm like, it's gonna work. And somebody else has done it, and therefore we can. And so yeah, I'm just constantly trying to learn things and not be stagnant. And I would say that is that you need If you're curious about anything in whatever industry you're in, just learn about it and ask tons and tons of questions. And they may fall on your face and you may feel like it's a stupid question, but it's not because somebody else has that same question and it's okay. You just have to you have to give yourself a little grace and forgiveness and just move forward.
Yeah, and honestly, it's easier said than done, and I think women have the hardest time asking those questions
Absolutely.
because we don't wanna appear weak in any way, shape, or form. We wanna make sure that we own whatever we do,
100%.
but at the same time, are we you know, is it our pride? Is it something else that is keeping us from really getting to that next step?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it is. It's interesting because is it our pride? What is it? Is it that we don't want to appear weak? But in all honesty, when you do ask those questions and you're constantly questioning, I think that shows less weakness, even though it feels at the time, it's a weird dynamic there in terms of,
Very weird.
yeah. But then you're like, yeah, I'm asking all these questions. And then you're like, yeah, then I've got this. But yeah, it's definitely that. And I even tell I have interns who come and work for us in the summer and I'm like, I'll just be like, just try everything. Just try. If you're curious about this, just do it. Because if you don't, then you're going to be like, what it? And the same thing here. It's kind of like, I'll see something and I'm like, I'm not pleased with the way this is working out. And be like, that's the way we've always done it. And that's not the way we're going to continue to do it. Don't like it. But do those things. Yeah. Just ask questions, learn, and don't be afraid. You just have to kind of, but it's easier said than done.
It is.
Sometimes. Yeah. I'm still afraid.
It's great advice. And Stephanie, thank you for spending some time with me. I really enjoyed this conversation and getting to know a little bit about you.
Yes. Thank you. And thanks for making it less stressful.
That's the plan every time.
And also, I appreciate it, Denise. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to celebrate and amplify the voices of women in the printing industry. If you have a story to share or know someone whose journey deserves to be highlighted, we'd love to hear from you. Together, let's continue inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Until next time, keep leaving your imprint. This is Her Imprint. See you soon.